welcome or welcome back to 4F Beauty. When will I be YouTube famous? I don't know, but I have got my name on the wall now. Thanks to my hubby for putting it up for me. If you're wondering why it's not switched on, it's because my camera gets confused by the white balance and concentrates on that and not on me, which, as we all know, is against the law. My camera, yes, nice orange box around my face on my viewfinder. Fabulous. Right, today's look, as you can see, is far more subtle than I usually go for. However, I was asked by one of you lovely 4F family if I would please review this particular palette. That's a really good angle, isn't it? The Wet n Wild Sweetest Candy palette, because you wanted to know if it's worth buying or not. Now, as we can see, I am looking elegant, fabulous, and indeed seamless, as are the other ladies from the Beauty YouTuber Growth Group. Now, they are listed in the description box, and once you've watched this video, it would be lovely if you would please go and watch one of theirs. But in the meantime, if you want to see a rare occasion of me actually doing more subtle makeup, my friend, you are in exactly the right place. Put your feet up. Here it comes. Hey, welcome back from the intro. I got a request, sorry, I'm a little bit husky this morning. I got a request from one of you wonderful 4F family. When I did my almost full face of Wet n Wild, I showed you all the different Wet n Wild items that I bought, and one of you wanted to see me review this particular quad called Sweetest Candy. So, as you can see, I have actually worn it a couple of times. Now, you're very limited with this quad as to what you can actually do in terms of looks. So I'm going to do the one that worked best for me. I'm just going to do some live swatching for you, because the thing that gets me most with this is transition and crease. There's not a great deal of difference between them, especially once you get them on the eyes. Let's just zoom you in a little bit. But you can see even on the fingers there's not a huge amount, it's just the crease is maybe slightly more satin. So that's the brow bone, that's the transition, that's the crease, and that's the lid. So you can see I would have preferred this, rather than being satin, to be a deeper shade of that, because to me that would have given kind of more options. Although it's quite nice to have that brow bone shade there, I tend to carry my highlight through my brow bone, so I'm not really fussed whether there's a brow bone, you know, a matte brow bone shade at all. There's certainly nothing in here you could use for inner corner highlight, because I tried with that brow bone one. Yeah. So, as you can see, I've already got my base done. Went a little bit ham with the bronzer and blush today, but it's probably because I'm going to be going so neutral on the eyes. I need to do something to make my face look normal to me, at least. Let's get you zoomed in. Bung this on my eyes. How's your day been so far? Has it been a good one? Or if it's the start of your day, I hope it's going to be a good one. Right. Usual spiel for newbies, and if you are new, hi, hello, welcome. You can see when I look straight ahead, you can see all of my mobile lid. Even when I totally relax my brows, you can still see all of the lid. So I don't have a hooded lid. Now, when you look forward, if you don't see all of your lid, then you've either got a full or a half hooded lid, or what's termed a mono lid, or an Asian eye. Now, you can still follow my tutorials. All you need to do is get something like this, flat brush, and with your eye open, just mark out where you need your crease to fall. So, imagine for a minute you can't see this. Imagine this is all tucked back up. I would then come up to here and sketch a line in, which obviously is going to drastically reduce the amount of space between my crease and my brow. Two ways we can deal with this. One of them is just simply raising your eyebrows, and the other one is to choose a slightly smaller blending brush. The two I'm going to be using today that I've found work best with this are two brushes from Coastal Scents, the natural crease brush and the tapered natural crease brush. Now, if you have got a restricted space between your crease and your brow, I would suggest that you start juggling here now. That's great, isn't it? I would suggest that rather than starting with a big old fluffy brush, I would suggest starting with a more tapered one, because that will stop it from flying out quite so far, quite so quick, but you will have to work a little bit harder at blending. So, I'm going to go into the transition shade, and I'm going to run that through my crease. And I'm going to start off on the outside edge here. I'm literally going to follow the shape of my socket, and I'm going to run it in a windscreen wiper movement, backwards and forwards, just to build up the depth of colour. Now, because I'm 44, and because I've lost about 10, 11 stone in the last decade, there's been a lot of movement of skin. You'll see even more this side, because this is the eye I'm blind, and you can see I've actually got permanent creasing just there. You can see even where I've set my eyelids, you can see tiger striping. Great. All I've got on my eyelids is a concealer, and I set that with Coty Airspun. Excuse me 1 minute, I have got a loose lash in this eye, I need to deal with it. Go nowhere. Okay, I think it's dealt with now. Right, so just laid it down in windscreen wiper movement. I'm now going to pick up a little bit more powder, that transition shade, and I'm going to do little circles. This will help move the skin on your eyelid around, gently enough that you're not going to end up with permanent creasing like I've got here, but effectively enough that you're not going to get gaps. Okay, so we start off at the outside edge again and do little circular movements all the way across to the middle, and then without taking your brush off, you lift it up slightly, you reverse the direction of the circle, and you come back out again. Now, because I've got deep set eyes, I've got more lid space, so I can go up again, go back to the original direction, and come back in. Now, I like to keep at least sort of 4 or 5 mils from the lowest part of my brow, so that the highlight brow bone shade that I put on actually shows up. And you can see I have actually got a subtle one on there at the moment, because this is a very subtle palette compared to how I normally do my face. I'm just going to add a little bit of extra colour up on this top corner here, simply because I do have creasing across here, and the colour can skip a bit, so I just like to pay a little bit of extra attention to this bit here before I go on to the next step. Now, the next step, once you're happy with the depth of colour you've got, is we're going to go back to the windscreen wiper, but we're going to do it in 3 sections across our eye, 3 overlapping sections. And instead of going backwards and forwards, we're just going to go up and down. And this is the final check to make sure everything is blended nicely and that there are no gaps. Okay? I have been struggling recently just with this particular section here in getting pigment to lay down, but because I know I'm going over this again with another pigment, I'm not overly fussed. If this was the only shade I was using, I'd pick up a bit of extra pigment here and just tap it into place like this without blending it out. I would literally just tap it into place. Okay, hopefully that shows up. It shows up in my mirror. Whether it shows up in here, I certainly hope so. Right, I'm now going to go and do the other eye. I always do the eyes at the same time because it used to wind me up something chronic when I was learning and following tutorials. And people would go, right, I'm going to do the other eye off camera. And you, oh, I've got to rewind all this now and start again. Have a word. So, you know, if you're really the whiz at blending, then I think there's a widget either down there if you're on your laptop or up there if you're on a tablet or a mobile that will allow you the option to speed me up. I am going to sound like a chicken, but that could be amusing. So if I just very gently pull this lid out here, you can see what I mean about the tiger striping and the barcoding. Now unfortunately I have learned from experience that even the circular movements won't do anything for me here. So I do have to really gently just buff this while holding my lid flat. I do not advise you to do this if using the circular movements works for you, because otherwise you will end up with this issue, and of course it will only get worse because as you get older your skin loses elasticity, etc, etc, everything starts sagging, it's a whole other thing. Right, back to our twirly whirlies or sycamore leaves or helicoptering or whatever you want to refer to this bit as. And just run that colour up the eye like we did before. And as we did before, I need to pop a little bit more pigment just on this outside edge here. Surprisingly, I've actually found this little quad blends easier and quicker than the 10 colour pan that I used. So yeah, although you don't get many options in terms of what you can actually do with the quads, they actually seem to be to me at least, a nicer quality. They're certainly more beginner friendly, as you can see, because this is, I'm not having to spend half as much time blending this as I did the 10 colour pan that I did the other day. Right, I am now going to go in with my tapered crease brush, and I'm going to go into the crease shade, which is it's pretty much the same shade as the transition, but it's satin. So, yeah, what can you do? So I'm just going to pack a little bit of the colour on the outside corner here. You can see it really is a very, very subtle difference. And that's what I find frustrating. I wish they'd gone, you know, even if they'd left it as satin, but perhaps made it even half a shade deeper than it is. I'm going to run through the crease again like I did before with the windscreen wiper. Now normally you would see a nice darkness coming through, but I think you can just about see the difference there. At least I hope you can. And then this time when I do the twirly whirlers, I'm not going to lift the brush up. I'm just going to blend along that line backwards and forwards, just to try and build up a little bit more colour here, to try and give some definition to that crease. I mean, you can see there is a bit of a difference. It's not as dramatic as I normally do, but I mean, this would be an ideal quad for school or for work. And of course it is really quite reasonably priced as well. So again, just adding some colour to the outside corner there, picking up a bit more pigment and running it through the crease. Now I need to do my usual blendy, 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 blendy. Okay. The rest of the crease I can just do as normal. And even though I've already blended that corner, I still, as standard, still go into that corner still. Just to make sure we've got the same depth of colour all the way across. Okay. And then I've got my colour switch here that I've been tapping off into. I'm just going to clean the satin shade off of that brush. And I'm going to go back into the transition shade here. Just pick up a little bit. You can see there's not a huge amount of fallout from this pan, so that's good. I'm just going to run the very tip of these bristles just about halfway along my bottom lash line. I always flinch this side because obviously I can't actually see the brush coming. I have to rely on muscle memory and viewfinder and mirror to not poke myself in the eye, which doesn't always work out. If you're a regular viewer, you will have seen me poke myself in the eye on more than one occasion so far. So I just want to add a little bit of definition under those bottom lashes. Not too much, because obviously what we're doing is a much more subtle look. Now, going in with a flat packer brush. This is a So Eco brush. I would tell you the actual name of the brush, but I've had it so long it's kind of worn off the handle. So, yeah, but it's a wide, oval top and reasonably flat. So I'm going to use this to pick up some of the eyelid pigment. Now you can apply this dry, like so, to the 2/3 of the lid that we haven't already put colour on. And you can see that gives a really nice, soft, subtle look. So perfect for work, perfect for school, perfect for college, perfect for going to church. You know, it's... And you can see as well it's a really quick look to complete. So that could be you done. Mascara, lippy, out the door. I am going to show you what it's like when you wet the brush though. So I'm going to pick some pigment up on the brush, and as ever, Pigment Boost from Makeup Obsession. You can use anything to wet this with. You can use a moisturising spray like MAC Fix Plus or Mario Badescu. You can use any priming spray, you can use any setting spray, you can even use clean water. But we're going to just, let's get one more for luck, why not? And then I'm just going to, and you can see that that does, it still doesn't make it boom boom pow, but it does give it a little bit more obvious difference to the first two shades that we've applied. I hope that difference is showing up on camera, I really do. Now, I never ever ever go back in with a wet brush into a palette. I always colour switch the pigment off of the brush and then dry the brush on my hand before going back in, because if you go into a pan, particularly a satin pan like this, with a wet brush, you can get a hard pan where it seals over and makes it very difficult indeed to pick up any pigment next time round. So again, just gonna pop this onto the lid. Now I've done this particular look a couple of times, once with a wet brush and once without. Now if you don't use a wet brush, by the end of the day it's all pretty much melded together on your eyes. You can't really see you've got pink there. But if you use a wet brush, you do still retain some of that pink for the end of the day. Right, let's grab. We're doing a subtle look today, so I'm not going to do liner. I'm going to go with my Scandalised Rimmel Scandalised Reloaded Waterproof Mascara. Because, let's face it, I've still got runny eyes. So it seems my hay fever is extending into November, which is nice. Not. As always, I always come down on my lashes first to make sure if there's any powder on them it's either off or coated. And then wiggle the brush into the base of the lashes and gently blink through. This is a great tip if you are putting mascara, poking myself in the eye. It's a great tip if you're putting mascara on somebody else, getting them to actually blink through the brush, because you are far less likely to poke them in the eye. And despite me poking myself in the eye just then, you're far less likely to poke yourself in the eye as well. And then for the bottom lashes, because this is a thick bristly brush, which I love for my top lashes, for the bottom lashes that can sometimes be a little bit much. So I like to just use the very tip. This is a very 1950s way of doing your bottom lashes as well. And just barely even brushing it across the bottom lashes. But you can see it really does emphasise and separate the lashes really quite prettily. Let's zoom you back out. Yoink, there we go. Let me see now. This is another one of the Wet n Wild lipsticks. This is the Just Peachy. Which is a stick lipstick. I'm just going to pop this on. It's a bit draggy on your lips when you're starting. It's almost like it's got a little bit of a wax coating on the top. But once you've got the colour going, as you can see, I hate these when they don't go right back down in, because I normally end up catching it on the barrel, as you can see. Right, let's do a little bit of setting spray, shall we? And I think today I'm going to go in, rather than a setting spray, because I know what I'm filming next, which means that this will all be coming off very shortly. So I don't need to make sure that it stays put. This is the Badescu facial spray with aloe, herbs and rose water. Smells like, you know, the Turkish delight that's in icing sugar at Christmas? That's what this smells like. And even though we're not making sure this stays put, I'm still a little bit extra. I'm still going to use a little bit extra. You don't have to. Now what this does, in the same way as Fix Plus, is it kind of it melts. I'm still fighting with these tops, as you can tell. It melts all of the powders together on your face, and just helps you have a more seamless finish. So, I'm going to pause you, do something with my hair, be back for my final thoughts. As you can see, makeup might be subtle, hair's doing its usual. I really have no control over my hair. I've even cut, as you can see, I've taken about 4 inches off, in the hope that it would behave itself a little bit more. But no, if anything, it's misbehaving even more than before. So, final thoughts on this, because obviously this is not my first time using it, I have used it quite a few times. Oh, good lord. Excuse me a moment. This is the only problem with using the Badescu spray, is that I do notice that it does sometimes smudge your mascara. Right, what was I saying before I realised I was looking like Alice Cooper from School's Out video? Like I said, this is not the first time I've used this. I've used it quite a few times. As I said, you are fairly limited to what sort of looks you can achieve when you've only got 4 colours and one of those is a brow bone highlight. Obviously, you can actually use that white on the lid if you want to, and again, that gives you a more of an all matte look. But again, you know, that works. I've even just used the transition shade, and rather than run it right the way up, I've just run it through my crease on the outside edge and popped some of that white brow bone highlight on the lid and lip gloss, clear mascara out the door kind of thing. So although you are restricted to the number of looks you can do, I definitely prefer the formula of these shadows to the this Colour Icon one, the 10 pan one that I used before. The mattes in this, or the matte in this, blended out far easier than in the 10 pan palette. So if you were thinking of picking this up as a really good, cost effective, everyday work, school, college look, then I'd say yeah, definitely go for it. If you want something that's going to give you a lot of variety, this is not the drone for you. It's not the drone you're looking for. Star Wars reference. Sci-fi. Makeup. Stuff. Either way, I really rate this. I probably will actually be using this. If I need to knock a look together really quickly because I've hit snooze one too many times, then I'm probably going to be grabbing for this palette, to be honest. Because another benefit of not having too many colours to choose from is that you don't have too many colours to choose from. Does that make any sense at all? I hope so, because sometimes it can be really overwhelming, particularly if you've got like a £35 palette. You're like, which colour goes with what am I going to do today? And if you're running late and you're half asleep and you're trying to get the kids fed and you're trying to do whatever, then, you know, sometimes having limited options is the best option available. But yeah, I'm rambling now, so I'm going to shut up. But basically, I like that. That's definitely a 2 thumbs up from me on that one, even though it's very subtle. So, I hope you've enjoyed this, including the little Alice Cooper moment there. If you did, it would be awesome if you could hit that like button for me, comment, share, subscribe. When you subscribe, don't forget to ring my bell, and choose all notifications so you get told every time I upload another one of these videos. And talking of another one of these videos, I've got an awful lot to choose from. Have you seen them all? Have you? Are you sure? Are you sure there isn't one you might have missed? You might want to have a quick look through at the most recent videos and just see if you missed one. Or maybe watch one of the earlier ones again. And if you are one of my OGs who has ever so faithfully watched and liked and commented on all of my previous videos, then in the description box, as always, are the links for the other lovely ladies in the Beauty YouTuber growth group. And it would be awesome if you would pop across to their channels and watch a few of their videos too. Right, all that remains for me to say, as ever, is you'll stay fabulous now. And I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.